Now, I have one more short story for you. I had 17 ancestors that fought in the Civil War, 16 for the North, 1 for the South, and you've already met him. But the Hollabaws and the Wallens, their family trees would come together when my mother and my father were married. The Wallens had 15 men that fought. And tonight I'm going to tell you about Corporal John Wallen. Corporal John Wallen, him and his brothers and his uncles walked from East Tennessee into Kentucky and joined the 1st Kentucky Cavalry, USA. They were chasing the 19th Tennessee, my Hollabaugh family. So they were fighting one another all the time. John Wallen, Corporal John Wallen, the only one of the Wallens to ever have any rank. All the rest of them were privates. And they joined in 1861, and they fought throughout the Civil War. Corporal John Wallen just happened to be detached from the 1st Kentucky Cavalry, and it was at Antietam, when 23,000 men would either come up killed, wounded, or missing. Corporal John Wallen, early in the battle, was riding his horse into the battle. He was shot with a minie ball in his shoulder. It knocked him from his horse and separated his arm from the shoulder socket. He passed out. 3 hours later, he came to. The war had passed him by. But all around him, he could hear the sounds of the men that were crying out in pain. Please, please, please just shoot me and get it over with. He could hear the cries all around him. And from behind him, he heard a voice. And the voice said, "Hey, Yank, you got any water in that canteen?" "Yeah, just filled it up 10 minutes before the battle started this morning." "Well, Yank, I'd sure like to have a drink of it." Corporal John Wallen said, "Well, I'd be happy to give you a drink, but I can't get to you. My shoulder's hurting so bad, I can't move." And the man behind him said, "Well, I've been gut shot. I'm not long for this world. But I'll try to get to you if you can try to come to me." For nigh on to an hour, the two men inched closer and closer to one another. Finally, Corporal John Wallen, with his good hand, handed the canteen over his back. And the man took it and took a drink, and he said, "That's mighty good stuff." Corporal John Wallen said, "Are you a Reb?" "I am that, Yank." And he said, "You know, I think if we could stop the bleeding in your shoulder, you'd probably be all right. You might lose that arm, but you're probably going to be all right. We just need to stop the bleeding." He said, "If you just didn't have that old linen shirt on, if you'd had an old cotton shirt, I'd be able to pack it in and stop the bleeding in your arm." And Corporal John Wallen's thinking, here I'm giving this guy a drink of water, and he's giving me what for what kind of clothes I'm wearing. But all of a sudden, he heard a tearing sound. And from behind him, that Reb was tearing his shirt into strips, his old cotton shirt. And he was able to reach out and pack that wound so it was no longer bleeding. And he took a strip of cloth, and with John's help, they wrapped it around him and kept that arm up close to him. The Reb said, "Sure would like to have one more drink out of that canteen." John handed him the canteen. As he did, he succumbed to pain one more time, and he passed out. And when he came to several hours later, the surgeons, the assistant surgeons, the drummer boys, they were out on the battlefield picking up the wounded, stacking them in the ambulances, which were no more than a wooden box wagon, sometimes stacking them 2 and 3 deep. And the surgeon came over and he looked at John, Corporal John Wallen, and he says, "Son, I think you're going to be okay." Corporal Wallen said, "Don't worry about me. Take care of that Reb behind me. He's hurt a lot worse than I am." The surgeon said, "Son, the only Reb behind you is dead, and he's been dead for several hours. Probably he was dead as soon as he hit the ground." Corporal John Wallen said, "That can't be. He bound up my wound. That can't be." As the stretcher bearers picked up Corporal John Wallen, he looked at that Reb laying behind him, and in one hand was a strip of cotton, in the other hand was John's canteen. I simply call the story "A Strip of Cotton and a Sip of Water." Thank you.